So yesterday I had a horrible day. Well, that was the night before too. Yesterday I said I'd been up since like 2:30, and it's been going for weeks and weeks and weeks. And Stella's been having such a hard time. And so I get into this total, I don't know what kind of state I get into. It's like chemicals start taking over my brain and I can't think clearly. I go into like this panic, which is probably what's happening to a lot of these people when they hear about like variants and, numbers in death that are exaggerated and all the bullshit. So, maybe that's what happens. They get this, absolute insanity. So I had this experience yesterday. So, and I have it all the time when it comes to Stella. And I can make the excuse, well, Lucy, who was the first dog that I had before Stella, that was this breed that I was really close to, why I fell in love with this breed, was Lucy. And she died in my arms at 1.5 years old, right after she just got out of, she was in recovery from, I picked her up from the hospital for her to be fixed, whatever, to spayed. And she was 13 months old. And I picked her up at the place, took her home. She was super tired. They said she was really groggy and stuff. And she just kept laying around. It just breaks my heart whenever it makes me really physically sick. But she, a while later, she died in my arms. And it was fucking horrible. And so I don't know what happens about every single little fucking thing. Stella could sneeze and I almost have a fucking heart attack. So I've got some sort of, it created a disorder for sure that I've got to get a handle on. But so she's been having horrible pain. And she had that abscess. I'm sure I talked about it because it was a couple months ago and I had to do all this stuff and I had to treat it at home and stuff. And I did it without even taking her to a vet. And it got better really quick and stuff. And I was very, very pleased. But she still keeps favoring, keeps licking it and stuff. And her other one. So I made the fucking mistake of Googling bone cancer. And of course, it's primarily in large and giant breed dogs. So I'm just like, oh my God, right then. It was like, oh, fuck. And she's got hip dysplasia and arthritis. So I'm like, oh my God, she's got the fuck joints anyways. That's, when you have certain kinds of things like that, like messed up, something that's different inside your body or something, that's how you will get those cells that are cancer cells. Their cells aren't the same kind of cells that are in that thing. Like if you have, like there's different kinds of tumors, but what I learned about with cancer is like if you have, say, your liver or whatever, and these other cells like move through your blood and they get in there, and these are cells that don't belong there and they start growing there. That's what becomes cancer. But this is it's the same thing with all the other diseases they've created. There's a lot of versatility because all the stuff that we have, they created it. They created cancer, they created AIDS, they probably created smallpox and all this shit. It's probably been going on since the fucking beginning because it's always been higher technology than what we have any clue about. It's way more advanced. So anyways, Stella was, I looked that up and then I was like in a panic and I'd never seen her in so much pain. She just was in so much pain. She was just pacing and panting, and she was, when she would step down, she would wince and cry and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, she's about to die. So first I called and made an appointment. They couldn't see her for days. And then I got an emergency one. I went down there, hours, sitting in the parking lot. You're not allowed. You can go in the fucking dentist. Go in there. I think the last time too. The in-between time, no, I didn't wear one the first time, I think. Because I've gone for 3 cleanings now. That's how we'll start tracking this. 3 cleanings during this bullshit. So, when you go in there, then they're going to, dig around in your teeth, get all this blood and goo and whatever crap that comes out of our bacteria mouth. And then they're going to use that water. Well, what did they tell us when the water sprays? Like in a bathroom. Oh, well, your toothbrush, every fucking thing in the whole goddamn bathroom is covered with fecal material now, right? Because you flush the toilet and it just sprays out, right? That's what they told us. So we're in the science. So when we go in the dentist and they've got all this scraping, I mean, we got to keep it covered because we've got so many germs. They just fly out. They can fly out in the air and make the air dirty. So then they go in there and they dig all this junk up in your mouth and then they start spraying it. Okay, so all these germs, where's the science behind that? But then you go to the vet and you've got to sit down in your car. They'll come out, do all of the stuff out there. You don't do anything. It's just like a drive up now. And they take the dog back there and she's back there for hours and she's got such high anxiety about that. And so you go in there, you're sitting out there for hours waiting. And, they finally call and say, oh, she's just, she doesn't see anything about cancer, but I should probably, go and see my regular vet too, which the appointment is Thursday. And, but she shows signs of pain in her hip. She thinks that her hip dysplasia is acting up. And she said that, that's just the way it'll be. It will have times. It's going to have flare-ups and it's going to be progressive. It's just going to keep getting worse. And the same with her arthritis. So that she's having a flare-up. So she gave me some prescriptions. Well, I use the CBD. I've started the golden paste. We're not a month in yet. So I have high hopes for the golden paste. It's supposed to be some miracle cure for dogs with joint problems. We'll see. And then I'm starting on fish oil, and she does glucosamine. And this is why I didn't ever want to start her on the big pharma stuff. Right now she's on pain meds and an anti-inflammatory. So I was reading the label, and the anti-inflammatory, she's 5 days of it. 1.5 pills in the morning, 1 pill in the afternoon for 5 days. In the thing, it says if there starts being blood or tarry stools, then you need to stop immediately. Okay, this is the problem with Big Pharma right here. And I don't understand how people don't recognize it. Like, if you're taking something that is such a chemical compound that you're at risk for bleeding, like I already know, I've already gone through the stuff that they fucked my body with. If you're taking something that's that strongly, you're at risk to start bleeding in your intestines and to eat through your intestinal lining to cause a bleed. That's how you get black tarry stools. It's bleed. That you are bleeding somewhere in your GI tract, and that's what it turns into is this black tar. That's rotten blood. If you bleed, if you see blood in your stool, that's blood right on the outside. Like that's why people who have hemorrhoids and stuff, they'll just bleed like they're on their period, just huge amounts of blood, because it's a vessel that's all swollen. And if it ruptures, it just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. I think some of those people have to go in and get cauterized and stuff. That's why it's important to also take good care of your body and eat properly. Because a lot of hemorrhoids are caused by straining, of pushing and pushing when you have to go to the bathroom and being constipated. And a lot of constipation is caused by the foods that they're telling you to eat and stuff. So it's like, that's why you've got to go primarily to your body. You've got to go and listen to your body. If you freaking got any issues, you need to go in, look up what would be causing these issues. What things can I change? Like home remedies used to be how we lived. Now it's like, oh, just run down to the pharmacy, run to a doctor, get a prescription. It's like, oh. And in 5 days, maybe your intestines will be bleeding, but, at least your legs won't hurt. So, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out and check her poop and stuff like that. I'm going to do it for this couple of days and hope that it reduces the inflammation. But yeah, this is why I didn't start her on those. When they very first told me in the very beginning that I was going to have to put her on anti-inflammatories, and they're like, you have to get her liver checked every 3 months or 6 months or something, and you have to get blood work and stuff like that. It's like, why in the fuck, For a 1.5-year-old dog, would I start them on something that could be destroying their liver? And obviously their whole GI system. It's like, oh my God. But yeah, let's let these people just, fill us up with their chemicals right inside our body. It's just madness, man. And I know part of my thing is to speak out about Big Pharma because I've had the whole medical community. I've had such a bad experience, which also leads to the judicial. With when having a malpractice and negligence happen to you in the hospital, and then seeing, of course, the non-profit hospital bullshit that's got the nuns walking around it. It's a funneling system. It's a fucking money laundering system. It's all these people are. Every foundation. This one is really, really pissing me off. I'm on a rant today. I swear to God. This one is really pissing me off. Is they keep showing, where is it? It's not Venezuela, I don't think. It could be Uruguay, I don't know, someplace. One of these places that they just want to keep telling us it's our responsibility to save these people's lives because they're too busy getting rich, buying airplanes and fucking yachts and going in rockets. So it is this horribly traumatic commercial. These gorgeous little children that are suffering and starving. These sad little scared young moms gripping onto them, not having any hope. And they're showing, like UNICEF or some fucking bullshit foundation going in, measuring their arms. Oh, we're on top of it. We're just going to measure their little skinny arms and see how skinny are they going to get before they die. We'll inform you on that. It's like, you son of a bitches. So let's not feed them. Let's just spend our time over there measuring them and trying to get us to donate money so you cannot feed them and funnel the money to your rocket ships and shit like that. I was like, all they want to do is play on your emotions, which they just is nonstop. This bullshit commercials and these mandatory bullshit commercials and, it's just, and, I try and do my best of not getting caught up in any of the different things. Like, I hear a lot of different stuff from what people say. And, I just have seen, to me, when that happened with the Alice & Co. and the event thing, because I told a lot of people too, I thought, oh, this is legit, it's fucking happening. And that is one of the times when everybody was just like, okay, you had your chance, you're crazy, it didn't happen, so goodbye, crazy person. So at that point, nobody listened to me anymore. I'm just a crazy person. But I really did see when she had said that, how people will turn on you. Like, if they all think like you can exactly predict time. And if time doesn't happen when they think it's going to happen, or when you think it's going to happen, or what your prediction is, or what the signs you're saying, or how you're seeing what's going on, then they've hung their whole wardrobe on it and what you're saying. And so when it doesn't play out that way, then, you're just done for. So to me, when I've listened now to all these different people giving dates and stuff like that, it's always like, I feel like you got to be prepared. Kind of sucks when you've been preparing for 6 months now for this 2 weeks of no electricity and no food and all this shit. It's like, oh my God, yeah, we're prepared, but for how fucking long? When is this gonna go? And so I find it hugely frustrating about this stuff, but I'm not gonna get all hung up on the dates. Like, to me, just for my own eyes and ears and stuff, like, I don't know what's going on about this military, the tribunals and stuff. I don't. You got Monkey Works, he's showing all this air flight stuff. You got Wano Saban going on telling Monkey Works what a good job he's doing. You got Pimpy bringing on people saying that it is complete nonsense. There's nobody to get Mo. You got people on the ground in D.C. showing that there's nobody at the White House. Nobody's lived there. You've got all this different stuff, so we know stuff is going on. But you can't just trust everyone's information. You can go in and you can take bits and pieces, and like I said, layer it on top of each other, find your intersections, find what makes sense to you, and just go with it. If you're going to get caught up in all of the dates and stuff, you're going to get frustrated like I am right now. But I'm not frustrated over the dates. Like, I think something's going to go on. I think you got to be prepared. I mean, there was stuff about the, November, the papers and the things that they've been checking about now, with all of these different state institutions are supposed to be, because the citizens have demanded, they want to see the numbers. So that stuff is going on. We already know that. We already know that it's in. We already know that mainstream media is pretending like it doesn't even exist. Like, if you go in, I think if I went in and I did tell one of my daughters, I said, well, that information's about to come out. They can't hold all this stuff out. So you just tell me, what do you think's going to happen when people find out that? You think there's going to be trouble in the streets? I think so. So I think that is where we can be logic. We know that they're holding the information back. They're pretending like it's not even going on. So we know that there's a whole lot of stuff coming in. So they've got their fingers in about 1 million different holes. So we know that stuff is there's too many of us that are awake. There's too many of us talking about what they're doing. They used to be able to do the stuff they did because it was in the silence of our ignorance, that we didn't pay any attention. We were distracted. We were busy trying to live the rat race. We thought we could get ahead. We thought we could succeed in what they laid out in their game of life. And it didn't, well, then we saw, hey, this is a rigged game. we can't ever win. And, the developers are in trouble now. They cheated and they're all in trouble. And so, like I've said, all of these people if you are all involved in the politics and you're sitting there, it's the people who wear these, it's the people who don't wear these, it's the people who got these, it's the people who don't got those, it's the people that are liberal, it's the people that, all of the stuff. If you're just sitting around pointing fingers, all it turns is a room full of people holding guns on each other, saying it's your fault, your fault, your fault, your fault. How productive is that? We already know whose fault it is. We already know it's the controllers. It's these, it's the people who are behind the curtain. That's whose fault all this is. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Everybody is as in deep as they can to their brainwashing and the chemicals. There's something with the mix of these chemicals that is doing something more to people's brains. And, so it's not productive, and we're wasting time and energy by blaming everybody. All we can do is just keep on trying to get the information out there so that more people have the opportunity to recognize the corruption in the system. So when it collapses, they're going to be cheering and not freaking out. And the same with Big Pharma. I mean, we need to get the information out there to get more people to be able to look into it, to see what's going on. Just go in and do some research. Like, there's so much stuff hidden from us. There are whole groups formed around different drugs, side effects being so serious. They've formed whole groups. Like that one that I was talking about, like with the flocking. Look up about the flocking. I can't remember what the drug is called. Cipro, I think. It's an antibiotic. And all these people that took it, and it all has to do with these chemicals inside of your body, and it all has to do with how each person is affected differently. And if you learn about AMP and you learn about how the chemicals and stuff and how complex this stuff is, the inner workings of our body, you start to understand. That's why, when you start to understand science, you can recognize when they're lying about science and when they're making bullshit up. So there's whole people who are affected by different drugs. More and more people need to hear about that so that they take a time to stop and think like, well, wait a minute. Do I want to be taking this stuff? Do I want to put this? Do I know the reactions with each one of these in to each other? Like the different toxins that are in your food? Do you know how it's going to interact with the stuff that's going in here? Do you know, I mean, all of this different stuff that people are not thinking about. I mean, just in high school science class, they showed you when you make certain things, what happens. You can have explosions. So people just have got to, you know, get in your head. These are actual chemicals. This isn't organic. This isn't a plant. As a matter of fact, they want plant medicine to be outlawed. I mean, they've done everything they can to keep that outlawed. It's only because we have some scientists and doctors with integrity who push for these things that it gets anywhere. And now plant medicine is coming more in, but you've got to get in your head that this stuff is actual chemicals that you're putting in your body mixed on top of a whole bunch of more chemicals. And so, you know, the pharmaceutical thing is huge. People have got to wake up, you know, and think about what they're doing to their bodies. And that leads to the whole thing with health, and to be more mindful of what you put in, to understand your body and the mechanics more, to take the time to care for yourself. All that stuff is interwebbed with that. And then you have the whole money system. Like, people have got to just wake up. Like, I want it to go through. I wish it went through. They just sent me, I went on to, I had said this a while back, with the stuff, with the Charlie stuff. Like, one, I saw the stuff and I knew what he was saying was right. And that this was the collapse of the dollar and the central banking system, and the stuff about the gold standard and stuff like that. Like, I bought silver, and I stopped paying my credit cards. I stopped paying. It was like, fuck this. Yeah, bullshit. Fucking this system. I'm not going to participate anymore. This is bullshit. And then when they did that thing about, the safety thing for your house loan and stuff like that, I guess they must have done it for this eviction and moratorium or something. But it was like on everything. Like your car, anything. You could go in and say, oh, I'm affected by this sickness. I need to take a break from paying my payments until this is over. Well, you know, now they're wanting people to go back and make their payments before it's over. And so people are freaking out. They sent me this huge packet of papers that it was like redoing your whole loan again. It's like, all it was what is that called? You know, you have a break. They do it all the time in school loans and stuff like that. But, you know, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to take people's homes, and they are trying to evict. They want just a certain group of people to be the landlords to us. And those people are buying a lot of land, a lot of farmland and stuff like that. So this is an absolute takeover. I mean, we don't need anybody to go in and explain that to us. We can go in and see. Just go in and start looking. You know, who owns big tech? Who owns all social media and stuff? You know, it's one group of people, and they're here buying all the land, and they've you know, they've got their candidate in place. Like, they've done all this. Like, this is absolutely a takeover. So you know, there's people that need to wake up to who owns us and why they tell us to do certain things. And, you know, you should go in and probably look and see how they treat their people, like what goes on there. And, you know, you start seeing somebody get run over in the street in front of these people, and they're oblivious. They're zombies. They just walk right over them. You got dead people are found on the street all the time. The harvesting is so bad there. Like, it's horrible. And that's what they want to turn the whole world into. But as long as they all have their little, you know, planes and stuff, and they've got their people who will take kids for them, and, you know, all this stuff is going on. And, you know, how do we know when it's going to end? We don't. There's no way. I mean, there's stuff that, you know, is about to blow up. Do we know what day, what time? I mean, no. We know they're repressing information. Like, that's going to get out. They can't hold this information back. It will come out at some point. And we know that that's going to, you know, it's going to cause a ruckus. Whatever that ruckus is about to be, we don't know. But it's coming. So, but it's just very frustrating. I think I've got to just you know, I mean, I can't say that I'm not going to go in and watch David Rodriguez again give a report, even though sometimes his is definitely where he can get super, you know, down too. Just like, oh my God, this is just the end, people. Just, and he has like a little bit of a religious thing too. Like a lot of people have a lot of this stuff is about religion. I want to talk about that for a sec. I'll be right back.